Hello everyone, welcome back. I wanted to do an initial review of the Glock 43. Okay, now I don't own the Glock 43. A friend of mine, we got together a couple days ago, and that person had just bought the Glock 43, and we each put about 100 rounds through it. And basically, the Glock 43 is very, very popular these days. It's being put out there as one of the best concealed carry guns out there. Like I said, I shot 100 rounds through it, and I want to give you my impressions of it. First of all, it is a small gun. It is concealable. Something that you can comfortably carry. I shot it, when I was shooting slowly, doing well-aimed shots. I shot it, right-handed. I shot it left-handed. Then I shot it, single-handed right-handed, and I shot it single-handed left-handed. Shooting at about, what was I shooting at? Shooting at about 10 yards. I was able to take pretty good shots. I mean, it's an accurate gun. It has a typical Glock trigger, okay? Where, when you squeeze it, you have to, if you're shooting it right-handed, you have to kind of pull a little bit to the right. If you're shooting it left-handed, you have to pull it a little bit towards the left with your trigger finger, and for me, that's how I shoot all my Glocks. In order for me to shoot the Glock accurately and get my shots on target, when I'm squeezing that trigger, I have to, it seems like I'm applying it, like I need to apply a little bit of pressure to the right if I'm shooting right-handed, okay? And other people have told me the same, so I know it's not just me. That's how that trigger likes to be, that's how that trigger is going to fall in, is going to work in most people's hands, I think. And I basically have standard size hands. I don't have really large hands or really small hands. I'm about 5'10", so I consider my hands average. So I think that the average person, when they're shooting it, is going to need to apply a little bit of pressure, to the right if they're right-handed. Okay. So it shot very well at about 10 yards, well-aimed shots. I did notice that when I was squeezing it, when I was firing it, I felt a little bit of, friction up here. I had the thumb knuckle to the side of it, and I noticed there was like a little bit of wear basically on my on the skin here, which I didn't think was terrible. However, what we did after that is we set up another target at about 3 yards. We put an 8x11 paper on it. We loaded up the magazine with 6 rounds, and we did magazine dumps. Okay, so basically it was, dump all 6 rounds as fast as you can on that target. And when I was doing the speed shooting with the Glock 43, I noticed that the gun had a tendency to jump all over the place. Okay, and I think that might have a lot to do with it just being a very light gun. So in speed shooting, the gun, jumps. It's going to move around a little bit. It did it to me. It did it to my friend, who's also a pretty good shooter. For comparison purposes, I pulled out my M&P shield, 9mm, the M&P 9 shield, whatever its name is. But you guys know what gun I'm talking about. They're about the same size. I think the shield might be a fraction bigger on the edges. But they're about the same size. I do think that the shield is probably a little bit heavier, even though they're the same size. And I did the same exercise with it. We put 6 rounds in there, and basically we did magazine dumps at about 3 yards. And the shield was definitely a lot easier to control. Okay, so we got a much tighter groups. I think with the Glock 43, basically, at full speed, the shots were opening up to the full size of the paper. I think they were opening up to about an 8-inch group. With the shield, same circumstances. The grouping stayed at about 5 inches, let's say. So we both shot the shield better. In speed shooting. The other thing I noticed with the Glock 43 is when I was doing the speed shooting, all right, the magazine dumps, it really started tearing into my hand over here. I mean, it didn't cut me or anything, but I could definitely feel that friction starting to build up, and that was not the case at all with the shield, okay, with the M&P shield. So between the two, I like the M&P Shield better. I think the Glock 43 is a very good gun. It's, you know, it's got Glock. You know, I mean, the name Glock. I mean, I've had lots of good experience with Glock. I mean, I use the Glock 17 as my standard gun for training new shooters, and the reason is because, you know, I'm in the business of training people. I'm not in the business of fixing guns. So I want to use a gun that I know is, well, not going to break. Okay, and that's the Glock. So if I was to, you know, most people don't do a lot of shooting with small guns. They tend to do most of their, you know, the high volume shooting with the bigger guns. You know, with the 17, the Glock 17, the Glock 19, with your Beretta, you know, Beretta 92, with your Sig, you know, 320. That's where most people do most of their high volume shooting. If I was going to do a high volume of shooting with a small concealed carry gun, I would probably definitely favor the M&P Shield over the Glock 43. You know, the main benefit of the Glock 43, I think, is that it is a little lighter. Okay, but there are my thoughts. Like I said, the two main issues I had is, number one, in high-speed shooting, there was a little bit more wear in this part of my hand over here, and the gun tended to jump around a lot more as compared to the Shield. I like the gun. I don't love the gun. Okay, so I think that's the best way for me to describe it. Okay, I like the Glock 43. I don't love the Glock 43. It's not something I'm going to run out and buy. So there are my thoughts. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys next time.